Meg, tell us why you oppose school choice and I guess the perils that you see for the state of Texas and children, parents, taxpayers, or what have you.
Well, I think it goes back to my opening comment, which is before you can find a solution, you have to identify the problem. And I hope that I made it clear what the problem is. And it was a deliberate shift. So that's why schools aren't the way they were 2 decades ago, is that Common Core, and in Texas it's called College and Career Ready, came into our state. And our schools are having to follow the shift away from academics to an education of an education of equity based on government values. So this shift is coming from the government based on laws, rules, and regulations. The TEKS is corrupted with the Common Core. So that is the reason. That's the problem we're trying to address. And I would say my husband, single mom, went through DISD, graduated in 1991, and he learned to read and he learned to write, and he loves America. So it wasn't that long ago. Our schools can be fixed if people want to fix them. That's the crux of the problem. There has to be a desire. And that's what I've seen. And if you spend time in Austin, you'll see that. There's the lobbyists like Corey, and then there's the parents and the taxpayers who are pleading with our representatives to fix our public schools. And we have solutions there. And I like to say, because as a conservative, it's frustrating for me to listen to people like Abbott or even to hear Corey, because they try to use the buzzwords woke, Marxism, the pornography in the schools, in order to get conservatives to think, oh, that's really the problem.
That is all happening.
It 100% is happening, but I'll tell you from experience, what's happened is when someone like me fought it in 2013, I fought it in books. What they did was they removed the books. We have HB 900, which tells parents that they can go in and look at any book and decide if they want to use that book or not. But what happened was the advent of technology, education technology, the one-to-one devices. So everything that we're fighting is coming in through the technology. I don't know if you've ever heard of CASEL, the Collaborative Academic Social and Emotional Learning. It is the foundation platform for almost every educational app. And Karen Niemi is their CEO, and she point blank states that the social and emotional learning is used to create social justice essential warriors. And this is in every single educational application. It's on the technology, and it doesn't matter whether you go to public or private or charter. If your child's on the device, you aren't aware of how they're being groomed on that device. And interestingly, I don't want to get off on that, but I'll discuss that further. As a conservative, obviously, I fought that. And then I recognized it was coming in through the technology. So how do we get this out? How do we fix the problem? Well, I'll tell you what, as a conservative, I believe in small government. I'm for small government. I'm for local control. And I believe that a parent's right to choose where their child goes to school does not come from the government. It's my right that comes from God. I can choose to put my child anywhere I want. I don't ask the government for permission, and they don't give me that right. That's very important. So when we talk about school choice, we also, so we have to define the problem, which I've attempted to do. Then we have to define, what does school choice mean? What does it actually mean? Because those of us who follow government policy are aware that more often than not, a law is named the opposite of what it does. We have the Patriot Act, it's unpatriotic. Mm-hmm. The Inflation Reduction Act, increased inflation. And then we have school choice. And everywhere it's been implemented over time, genuine school choice goes away. So I think you have to do research.
That's not true, though.
Excuse me.
Well, you've been talking quite a while, and it's a two-person
kind
of conversation.
Yes, finish your thought,
Okay,
and then we'll let
thank you.
Corey.
Real quick, I'll make it super fast. Like I did to find out what was happening in our schools, People have to do their research on where government-regulated school choice has been implemented. Look at Sweden. That was in the 90s.
Why not look at the United
After
States? We
20
live here. Why would you
I've
look at
loved-
Sweden?
Okay,
Why is that your
I'll get
number one
to the
example?
U.S. We have Sweden, and after 20 years, they, outlawed homeschooling. They have a state curriculum. Okay, so then we have Canada. Let's look at our 51st
Yeah, why are we
state.
looking everywhere else except for the
I'm gonna
50
get-
states in the United States
I'm
that
gonna
have school choice?
I'm gonna get to the United States. In Canada, the Catholic schools there are publicly funded, and because they are publicly funded, they had to teach the LGBTQ agenda. And so, what did the parents do? Over in the last 3 years, they have created a consortium of parents, and they have created independent Catholic schools. And what does independent means? It takes no government funding. So now let's go to the United States. My favorite case is Maine. It's my all-time favorite. Because in Maine, they passed a state tuition. And the state of Maine said this cannot be used in any religious school, in any sectarian school, state tuition. Well, Christian parents said, that's discriminating. That's wrong. They took it all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. In 2022, in Carson versus Macon, the Supreme Court ruled that it was a violation of their free exercise clause of the First Amendment and a violation of the freedom of religion, and that these parents could use that state tuition in that school, in any school they wanted, Christian, whatever you want. So the parents begin to use their vouchers there, or their state tuition. Maine amended their Maine Human Rights Act. And when they did that, it states that wherever that money, state tuition goes, they have to teach the LGBTQ agenda. So they've lost their freedom. So what people thought they were escaping, the minute the government money goes in, it becomes a government school. And we can see that right now with what's happening with Trump. Trump right now is telling Maine, you do what I say, or I'm taking my federal money away. Because when my money's there, I'm in control. Same thing with Biden, Title IX. Men are going to play in women's sports. And if you don't allow it, I'm taking my money away. Because it just goes to show the old adage, I'm sure you were all taught this. My dad used to always say it, whoever has the gold makes the rules. So when the government's money's in there, they make the rules. So that's the case in Maine. And we've got Arizona that I could go on and on.
What happened worse in Arizona? What?
You want to know what's happening in
Yeah, go
Arizona?
ahead.
The state tuition vouchers, have you, I don't know, have you heard about the state tuition vouchers are funding a LGBTQ school? Because those students, they felt bullied. So what they did was they took their state money and they created their own school.
So those can exist with or without school choice. And there's a lot of states that don't have school choice.
But
that
I'm
have
not funding
worse
it.
government
But I'm not
regulations.
funding it. I don't want to fund it.